What's going on, y'all? Today we got how Michael Jordan changed NBA culture forever. Let's get into it, man.
From showing the world what greatness looked like with his impeccable slam dunks to making the famous Jumpman logo a global phenomenon, this is how Michael Jordan changed the culture of basketball forever. 'Cause see, Jordan and greatness go hand in hand. That statement is truly undisputable. But the weird thing is, the more you learn about MJ's incredible career, the more remarkable the whole thing seems. His game was absolutely gorgeous, and he did it so well that a whole generation wanted to be just like him with a basketball in their hands. Jordan took NBA and the game in general to unprecedented heights, and when he'd soared that basket, it didn't even matter if you were a fan of basketball. You'd sit there with wonder in your eyes and your mouth wide open. Obviously, everyone wanted to tune in because who doesn't like witnessing greatness in action? And this made the sport a global affair. He made scoring an entire art. The slam dunks, the reverse layups, and the fadeaway shots would make the crowd go absolutely wild. MJ made basketball culture more popular, and with everyone trying to be like him, it soon became clear that it wasn't that easy. Also, during his career, Jordan influenced his team along with an entire city. If you want to talk Chicago sports, you're not going to get a sentence in before his airness is brought up. No other player has meant more to their city and team than Jordan. If you go through the history of the NBA, you'll quickly realize that MJ was totally synonymous with his team. And though that might sound ordinary, it does not happen often at all. Generally, the trend is that players pass on the torch to those who follow them in their teams. In fact, most of the big names in the organization have gone through multiple phases in their career, and this means that their team had times when they weren't the ones leading the whole operation. Celtics and the Lakers are good examples of this. They've got this huge line of Hall of Famers that have come in and helped the franchise grow. But throughout it all, no one player ever dominated their timeline completely. But Jordan's a different story. MJ shaped the Chicago Bulls into the organization that they ultimately became. Before he came onto the scene in 1984, the Bulls weren't doing all that well. And it pretty much continued the same way for several seasons, even after Michael was a part of the team. Here's what the league looked like back then. It was primarily controlled by the Big Three in Boston, the Bad Boys of Detroit, and the Showtime Lakers. The Bulls were the underdogs. But the world hadn't yet seen Jordan's leadership. By the time the 90s rolled around, MJ was all set to turn some tables. He was poised to go in headfirst and conquer the league. Over the decade, he was responsible for winning 6 out of 10 championships. And get this, during this time, Jordan actually retired for a season and a half. After being absent between 1993 and 94 and 1994 and 95 seasons, he still got those incredible numbers. Maybe he was so good with his team because he actively built them up. He worked to create the group we saw sail through its championship years like it was the easiest thing in the world. They were so good that it didn't even matter what your team was. Their greatness got them loyalty across team lines. Also, MJ's achievements in it were so amazing that no one's ever done it like he did. Ever since he announced his second retirement in 1998, the legendary figures remained totally unreplaceable. It wasn't just about winning. See, Mike introduced a culture of loyalty. Sure, no one's going to complain about the wins, but Chicago fans and the city itself got amazing loyalty from the player. Maybe Superman never forgot the fact that they were the ones who took a chance on him in 1984 when they chose to draft him. Out of the 15 total seasons he played for the NBA, he had the Bull uniform on for 13 of them. He also saw his team through moments of transition. He was there when they were playing in the old Chicago Stadium, and he was with them in the new United Center Arena after he came back from his first retirement. Now that is a level of loyalty that isn't easy to come by. Who doesn't want to get on with it and grab as many wins as they can? Some players try everything for it, from demanding trades to going for free agency. But MJ was built different. He didn't duck out when things were bad. Instead, he worked to turn them around. which is why he has left such a huge impact on the city. Now, apart from his impact on the team, he also changed the game itself. Just when the NBA kinda needed a basketball fairy godmother to turn things around, the Black Cat emerged. He totally took on the task, and it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that he revolutionized basketball. After his rookie season with the Bulls back in 1984, he got down to the business of totally redefining the substance and style of the game. Now, the first step he took in that direction was when he worked on his athletic development. He basically globalized basketball by staying right there on the field. It was his athleticism that was the message, and the world heard it. Apart from that, Air Jordan also significantly changed the NBA's center position. He had the influence to alter the sport's rules, and he totally did. As per Bleacher Report, he was crucial to the way the game was tailored to replicate his own dominance. Now, you might hear that it was only his natural abilities that took him so far, and while that is true, it wasn't the only factor that made him who he was. You simply cannot discount the work he put into it. In fact, his progression wouldn't even have been possible without Herculean levels of commitment. It was the focus that helped him climb the mountain of greatness, and that was how he reached the height of basketball. He set new standards about the way players should prepare for their time on court. While on the topic of Jordan's impact on basketball culture, not everybody thinks that he changed the game for the better. When MJ changed things up, a lot of it was because of the way he played it. As the Sports Archive blog explains, he could move explosively towards the basket, could handle the ball with great expertise, could shoot like no one you knew until then, and had a post-up game that lacked many shooting guards. Now, add all that up, and what do you get? Well, you get a player who could take almost all the attention in the game. Some argue that this affected the sport's synergy, and it became a one-man show. When this new style became popular in the NBA, obviously the youngsters all wanted to do it like the GOAT too. Ultimately, according to the Bleacher Report, the play suffered. With time, the ball didn't move as much as it should have. The fundamentals got redefined, and shot selection all but disappeared. Players became more athletic and faster, but they were athletes first and basketball players second. It became common that the goal of the game would be to just score, and passing lost popularity. The result? Bad output on the floor, and lower NBA scores overall. The league also came in and changed the rules. The objective was to make things a bit loose for the offenses, and while this helped bring up the total number of scores, the culture of basketball as a team sport kept deteriorating. Here's the irony of the whole scenario: the be like Mike effect. The Black Cat was incredibly agile in his game. He was just as effective with a ball in his hand as he was without it. His passes were purposeful instead of being dictated by necessity, and his shots never happened out of the blue. They were controlled and balanced. And so when the world wanted to be like Mike, a lot of the stuff that Mike normally did effectively just got lost in translation. The more attention-grabbing parts of the play got highlighted. So, whether it was intentional or not, he ushered in an era of star-driven basketball. Stephen A. Smith also backs this viewpoint. Though he loves Jordan and believes him to be the greatest ever, he still thinks that MJ was so good that the NBA started marketing the individual. And people kinda did the same, because everybody wanted to be just like him. Now, with Jordan, the impact went beyond the sport. His legacy continues to influence sports and pop culture. When Nike wanted to build the Air Jordan shoe, they signed MJ up for a $2.5 million 5-year deal. This act was nothing short of revolutionary. Sonny Vaccaro, the man who brought Nike and Jordan together, believes that Michael changed the world. According to him, Mike opened the door of incredible deals for black athletes, so they could really earn from their endorsements. He was the first one to go into that world, and all of a sudden, the athletes were free to make deals too. Plus, he made a product that's gonna live on. The Jumpman logo is now the stuff of a legend. So, from making the famous Jumpman logo a global phenomenon to showing the world what greatness looked like, that was how Michael Jordan changed the culture of basketball forever.
Facts, man. If you guys enjoyed, y'all know what to do, man. Click on the last reaction. Tell me how you feel about this one. Tell me what else you want me to react to. And I'm out of here, man.